Welcome back to the Ride Fam here on the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. Thank you for joining me on today as we have started season 4 and we are on episode 2. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the day and the conversation and providing commentary and content, please ma'am, please sir, if you have not liked, share, but most of all, subscribe to the channel so that you will be up to date and abreast with all content pertaining this platform. Last week we focused on doing the work on yourself and not being so caught up in what other people are doing, especially since it's January and we are now in the groove of people executing their New Year's vows and making decrees and declarations of what they will and won't do this year, what they will tolerate, what they're seeking after, what they're running towards. We talked about having the mindset of how we're going to approach these relationships. And are we going into the relationship with the mindset of, I'm going to fix people? Do we have this savior complex? Do we not focus on ourselves for specific reasons? Being, are we narcissistic? Do we think we can fix people, that we have the standard to what a relationship should be or how people should act? Do we think that we have the golden key? Or is it from our childhood traumas, things that we have not dealt with, things that from our upbringing has shaped us, groomed us, and for all intents and purposes may have traumatized and scarred us? But we project those things, we project those behaviors and characteristics and attributes onto other people because we think we are the ones who can fix other people, but we don't want to take the time to do the work on ourselves. As we move into year 2024, as always, the stance of this platform is do the hard work on yourself. Stop looking at other people to fill your voids. Stop looking at other people to give you what it is that you are missing. Stop looking at other people to make you happy. That's something that you have to do innately within yourself. So today's episode is going to be geared towards 12 mistakes to avoid when beginning a new relationship. So again, last week we started on how we show up in the relationship. Why do we do certain things that we do, and how do we pick the people that we pick? I mean, that's a good topic right there. When we talk about getting into relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic, or how we're navigating relationships, whether it's parental or family members or whatnot, how do we engage? What do we attract? The law of attraction. Do you look for things that you saw your parents or your family interact in that certain kind of way, and that's what draws you because that's what's comfortable? But what I'm calling everybody to is to do something a little bit different. Do something that's not comfortable. It's scary. It hurts. It's painful because you're trying to operate in a different way than what you are accustomed to what you're familiar with. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we got to be real with ourselves. We got to be honest with ourselves that we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That is the epitome definition of insanity. So let's go ahead and get into the clip for today, and we will provide commentary along the way.
Mistakes you shouldn't make at the beginning of your relationship. Now, the foundation of a building is perhaps one of the most important parts of that structure because the foundation will determine what will be built on it. The foundation of any structure, including relationships, actually needs to be properly set to ensure the stability and durability of that relationship.
I mean, that's the number one thing. No matter what we are doing, whether we're talking about relationships or even job related, life, the houses that we live in, the apartments that we live in, wherever you live, wherever you stay, townhouse, whatever, that foundation has got to be right. If the foundation is shoddy, your house will not stand. And we put all this work, time, and attention into all these other things that we do to make sure that the foundation is right and that we can build upon it and it can stand the weightiness of everything that is on top of the foundation. But when it comes to relationships, I say this over and over again, we do not want to put the blood, sweat, tear equity into building lasting relationships. Relationships they do not develop organically. They just don't. Sure, you might be drawn to somebody and a friendship or a relationship or something may emerge from that, but to sustain it, it takes work. You know, when me and my wife, we bought our house, you know, both houses actually. The first house we were in for 10 years, and then this house that we're in now, we were in it for about a good 5 years, going on 6 years. And it's always something that needs to be done on this joint. Sure, we love the house, but it's hard work. The easy part is getting it for all intents and purposes, but keeping it is the difficult part. And you got to maintain the foundation. How did you go into it? It takes work. So before we can even build on anything and sustain anything, that foundation has got to be solid.
Now, if you're recently someone who fell in love, if you're in a relationship and you want to make sure that your relationship stands the test of time, all you have to do to avoid these mistakes is watch this video. I've got you. I'm going to be sharing with you mistakes you shouldn't make at the beginning of your relationship. Let's go. Welcome back. My name is Jessica. This is my YouTube channel. Today's video is sponsored by Passion Air. Thank you very much to Passion Air for coming through once again. Let's jump right in. Number one is being a control freak. Now, sometimes it can be cute to be bossy, but when you're a control freak, it can wear anybody out. In the first place, it is expected that you both have dated to get to know each other to some extent. Now, if you didn't like what you saw at the time of dating, you shouldn't have proceeded to get into a relationship. But since you're in the relationship, it is expected that you do like the person and who the person is. So if you're trying to change your partner and make them into another you, well, it may not be exactly pretty. They're going to resist, and it's going to come biting you in the end.
Let's start there, because I talk about this very subject here in chapter 5 of my book, Paradigm: Thinking Differently About Relationships. And the chapter is love the idea of relationship, not your person. You love the idea of being in a relationship with somebody, but you don't love the person that you're in the relationship with. And you're automatically going in trying to shape this person. You're trying to groom and mold this person into someone ideally in your brain you think is the perfect person, or you're trying to replicate another you. You're trying to clone yourself. And just as Jessica said here, it is not going to work. Because you are automatically going into this relationship thinking, I can manipulate, I can control, I can connive, I can shape this person into who I want to be. There was a television show that I saw a while back, and the woman was mad that her and her man were going through some issues, and her statement to him was, I've spent too much time trying to groom you into the man that I want you to be to let you go. And that's a crazy statement here. If we could just really think about that for a second. I've spent way too much time trying to groom you into the person or groom you into the perfect man to let you go. Even though we're going through issues and we're not clicking together, But I invested so much time into getting you to the point to where I want you to be as a person, as a man, that I refuse to let you go because I don't want to start over, because I don't want somebody else to benefit from the work that I've done. But you're still not the perfect man that I want, but that means I still have work to do on you. Well, what about the work that she needs to be doing on herself? And so that's the whole point here. When we're going into relationships and we're trying to control the narrative, to groom somebody into who we want them to be for our own personal benefit, that's very dangerous.
Your partner is an individual and you must appreciate her. Number 2, pointing out every flaw. Now, closely related to what I just discussed is the fact that your partner is a human being with flaws, with weaknesses. So you should never expect perfection. One of the greatest mistakes most people make in a relationship is to expect perfection from their significant other. Your partner will have flaws. I mean, that's what the dating period is for, to know if you can handle the flaws that your partner is coming with. You cannot keep pointing out every flaw. You're going to have to learn to overlook a few of them. Mm-hmm. Number 3, losing.
Absolutely. There were certain things that my wife and I, we determined that they were not deal breakers. And some things it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. My wife understood when we got together that I was an organizational and structure freak, and I wanted things to be in this place. It got on her nerves in the beginning, but she learned it's not a deal breaker. She puts her shoes at the front door, and by the end of the week, it's like 12 pair of shoes there. And in the beginning, it got under my skin to no end. But then I realized it's not a deal breaker. Just because she leaves the shoes by the front door, or because I want my house to continually stay organized and neat, it didn't mean I loved her any more or any less. Those weren't deal breakers. They weren't hills to die on. It was not that big of a deal to give that level of attention and frustration and concern to, just because I wanted always that the dishes to be washed. I always want this, whatever. Or if there was a pair of shoes at the front door, it didn't matter. And so those are the sorts of things that she's talking about here. You got to really figure out what your deal breakers are and stop trying to point out every single little flaw in somebody just because it's not what you do.
In romance. Now, after a while, it's easy to lose the romance and stop putting in effort to date your partner. Now, as much as you can still date your partner and put effort into looking good for them, don't begin to take them for granted, because you've gotten them where you need them.
Yeah.
You're dating now, and you feel like you don't have to put in any extra work to keep them. A lot of people make this mistake and are always found wanting.
Oh, that's a powerful one, especially when they talk about, well, you should just love me for who I am. Well, no, hold up. You did a whole bunch of stuff in the beginning to gain my attention. Because we together now, why stop that? And that goes both ways. And you can take this however you want it, whether it's a physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, whatever it is. We get complacent. We let ourselves go. We take the other person for granted as if they were always going to be there, and that no matter how we show up in the relationship and engage, that they are supposed to always be giving their 100% when we're not. So that's a really good point of something that we always got to be careful of.
Yourself. Sometimes we're likely to want to impress someone so much that we become this totally different person from ourselves. Don't fall into that trap of not being anyone else but yourself.
Me and Nikki, we talk about that quite a bit. Now that this year, in May, I will be approaching 40 years old. And Nikki, she'll be approaching an age. We've gotten to the point to where we are comfortable with being ourselves around each other. We've never tried to change one another. And that's one of the, don't try to change the other person. Yes, you can influence them if there's are bad or negative behaviors that need to be changed. But if you can't be yourself around somebody, that is a huge problem. When you cannot come into your own home, your own space, and be who you are, and you turn off the world and you turn off being a boss, you turn off being a coach, you turn off being a mentor, a leader, and when you come home, you just are. And that's a beautiful thing, to when you're not trying to be something for somebody to be on 24/7. And the best example I can give of this is we just celebrated the holidays, and we know that when family member and friends and acquaintances come around, we flip the switch, and we are a different person. We got the smile on, we're so bubbly, blah, blah. And when they leave, we just decompress and we just let it all go, because we were putting on the act. So if you are with somebody, your significant other, you should not have to put on an act of who you really are.
Don't lie about your hobbies, change your dressing, friends, just to satisfy the person. Now, if the person doesn't like the kind of person that you are right here, right now, then maybe they aren't the right person for you. You're only good for any relationship when you're being yourself. So don't lose yourself just to satisfy another person. Let them see you for who you truly are, and they'll begin to appreciate you truly. Number 5, lack of communication. Now, communication is one of the main ingredients of a good relationship. Once you lose communication, you might as well not be in that relationship.
Yeah.
Some people talk a lot without saying anything. Now, while
Absolutely.
there's place for idle talk, there's also the need to have serious conversations where your feelings, issues of life, goals, dreams, expectations, likes, dislikes, come into play, so you can get to know each other better.
And we talk about that in chapter 6 of the book, Productive Communication. It's just not enough to sit here and talk and spew words. Are you really communicating in an effective manner that both parties are hearing, they're comprehending, they're understanding, they're processing, and they're using this data, these points of information, to really make intentional decisions to pivot?
Appreciate yourselves fully. Number 6, dishonesty and keeping secrets. Now, if you want your relationship, then you can't afford to keep secrets or be dishonest. A relationship built on lies cannot stand. It's as simple as that. You have to be truthful to your partner and let them know every important detail that there is and that they need to know, or it's just a matter of time before the relationship hits the rocks. Some ugly thing is going to come up from your past that you won't be able to deal with. They'll be asking why you didn't tell them, and you will be left in the lurch. Number 7, comparing your partner to your ex or exes. Now,
Yeah. This one right here. Chapter 4 of the book, Unrealistic Expectations. Based off of our past experiences, our hurts, pains, whatever it is, frustrations, engagements, whatever, are we going into this new relationship fairly and justly? And have we again done the work on ourselves? Or are we comparing every single relationship to that of this new person that we are engaging with? We really gotta, take that to heart and really ask the difficult question concerning that.
Now, another mistake you need to definitely avoid is doing this. It's like comparing your present to your past. I mean, they're both different, so you should start your relationship with your present on a clean slate, making different memories with them. Now, if you know you're not over your ex, then perhaps you should wait to be over them before getting into another relationship. One question you need to ask yourself is, if your ex was so great, why are you no longer with her? Number
Absolutely.
8, being too clingy and needy. Now, we know you love your partner, and that's great, but you need to give them room to breathe. Clinginess and being needy are never advisable in a relationship. It makes you feel or seem desperate, possessive. The person will feel smothered, and over time, they will begin to distance themselves from you. People need room and space to sometimes be on their own or invest in other relationships that they care about, right?
And I know I've gotten some flack over the years for this. Whenever my wife goes out with some friends or an outing, and the question would sometimes arise, your husband didn't call you, or if she's out with the ladies, I'm with the fellas, or if we're having just a general conversation about relationships and boundaries and trust and space, I would say when she's out, she knows how to call me if she needs me. I don't have to sit there and call you to figure out what you're doing, sitting there trying to FaceTime you. And no, I mean this in the most loving and respectful way. I don't have time for that. I got better things to do. You went out for a reason. You got away from Eric for a reason. You need your space. You need your time. And we all need time to just decompress and veg out sometimes. And I still struggle with that because I like to be quote unquote productive. And it's hard for me to stop and just be and just live in the moment. And I'm getting better with that. I'm learning to do that more. But yeah, when it comes to her, when it comes to my baby, hey, if you need to go do what you need to do, go for it. Just let me know where you're going, how long you possibly think you're gonna be, and it is what it is. You know how to hit me up if you need me. I don't need to be in your back pocket 24/7. I love you, you love me. We both know we be coming home to at night, and let that be it. Let that person be themselves. Let them have their time, their me time to themselves.
You need to have a life outside these people that you're dating.
Yes, have a life outside of your
Friends,
partner.
have a life with family.
Yes.
Self-development, and let them have a life as well. Mm-hmm. Number 9.
Yes, your life cannot be solely revolved around that person. It just can't.
Being pessimistic. Now, some people enter relationships expecting it to fail. The mind is very powerful, and that's why psychologists say that you are what you think about. You cannot start a relationship with a failed strategy. Put your all into the relationship expecting it to work, but if it ends up not working, it won't be because you didn't do something or you didn't give it your best shot. Commit to your relationship and stay positive, and it most likely will bring back what you expect. Mm-hmm. Number 10, bad-mouthing your exes. Now, you might think your partner wants to hear it, but constantly bad-mouthing your ex doesn't give you a good look. It actually ends up making you look bitter.
Absolutely.
Now, you can tell your partner
like, why are you still talking about them?
What happened with your past relationship. I mean, you can even give them the gory details if you want to once in a while. But there's no point to dwelling on your ex.
Yes.
Some people simply are really bad at moving on and sometimes can sound like a broken record when all they do is the whole comparison thing to another's ex.
Yeah.
Being nosy about their finances is point number 11. Now, at a point in the relationship, especially when you're talking marriage, you should talk finances and how it will play out in perhaps your home, etc. However, when you're dwelling obsessively on their finances, it can come off as offensive and also make it seem like you have ulterior motives. Now, it's okay to expect that your partner discloses their financial statement or finances when marriage talks get into gear. But if you always try asking them about their finances, you might come across as a gold digger. If they volunteer information on themselves or by themselves, that's okay. But otherwise,
that's a cool point.
None of your business.
Can't argue with that.
Ignoring the red flags.
Yeah,
now,
that's
a
it.
Relationship is not only one that lasts forever. Sometimes it's equally successful when it makes it clear to you that you don't want to be in a relationship with that person. Don't ignore the red flags because you want a relationship to last. Pay attention to them for your own sake. The beginning of a relationship will determine how the relationship will go or how well it will do. Pay attention to doing what you should do and avoid making the mistakes that could destroy your relationship in the end.
And that's a really good spot to end here. I know season 2, I dealt with this issue, this topic a lot, quite a bit of disregarding the red flags just for the sake of being in a relationship. That's a real big thing. I mean, people do that a lot. We and I hate using this terminology settle because it's so loosely thrown out there now. Because on one end of the spectrum, people think very highly of themselves. And when they use the terminology settle, they think that somebody is beneath them. And I totally disagree with that. So I'm not using the word settle in that context right now. When I say the word settle, I mean that there are a number of red flags that you see, that you notice. It may be an abusive relationship, verbally or physical or emotionally. It may be a relationship to where the person is taking advantage of them. You're not being seen. You're not being heard. It's very clear that is a dysfunctional relationship, not a relationship to where you're being narcissistic and you just want the focus and attention always be on you. But I'm talking about genuine flags that could be detrimental to the relationship. Those are the things that we need not to engage in. And then we get mad because we're not getting what we want out of the relationship, but you intentionally disregarded those red flags, those signs, just because you wanted to, one, be in a relationship with somebody because you don't like being alone. Number two, you've vested so much time into it and you think that, well, I put in so much time into it, I might as well stay. Or number three, your self-esteem is just that low to where you think that I don't deserve any better. I can't get anything other than this, so I might as well just settle and keep going on with my life. And that's what we're talking about here, settling, when we talk about the red flags. But all in all, I thought these were some really good tips. Provide your feedback to me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about these 12 mistakes to avoid when beginning a new relationship. And again, bring it back full circle. Before we engage in these 12 steps or these things to look for when we're engaging in new and exciting relationships this new year, make sure that you are doing the work on yourself. Make sure that you are not the one that are perpetrating all these things and that people are coming and looking at you as they are operating these 12 mistakes or these 12 things to avoid when they're trying to enter into a relationship with you. So make sure you are doing the work on yourselves. And when we do the work on ourselves, we can show it better for our families, our households, our environment, our community, our society, the nation, and we can take this thing globally. So until next time, continue to think differently about relationships. Peace.